Enter your pin followed by the pound key. You are now joining the call. Recorded live.
Alright, hang on just a minute here. Good. Let me get one more thing started here.
Alrighty.
And that should be working here. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Whoops, one more thing to do here. One more thing. The we're going to get one more started here. And we're doing that right now. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I am your host. I am Clay Douglas. My guest today is Misha. Hello, Misha. How are you?
I'm just great. I'm hunkered down here in Santa Fe. It's cold and snowy and wintry, but I'm inside and toasty warm. How are you doing there in Texas, Clayton?
Well, I'm cold and wintry today too. We got a cold front blow in last night. Yesterday was beautiful. Today it's colder than hell and the wind's blowing and howling. So
yeah.
But yeah, another one of those northers sent down by the Yankees, you know, to torment us.
Yeah.
Misha, let me ask you now. You're my guest here, and usually about once a week. I do that because it's really relaxing to me to be able to talk to an intelligent woman. They're just not many out there, you know.
Clayton.
But hey, you know, the same could be said about men. So I'm really not being discriminatory here. You are billed as a spiritual medium. Now, you do this. You're also a pastor. You're a Christian, and it's kind of interesting. Tomorrow. Whoops. Let me see. Keep this working here. Tomorrow is supposedly the end of the world. The end of the world coming up tomorrow. I don't believe that's true.
No, I don't either. And the Mayans never said that. They're talking about several cycles that are ending, and new ones are beginning. And even the Bible doesn't talk about the end of the world. It talks about the end of an age. The end of an age is a very, very large cycle. And actually, these cycles have been known about and have been mapped by people that figured this out a long time ago. Like if you if you go into the Hindu religion or the Buddhist religion or even ancient Christianity, they knew about these very, very, very long cycles. We are cycling out of a 26,500 year cycle. We're cycling out of a 2,500 year cycle, and there's probably a few more in between there. So it's kind of a big thing, but it's not the end of the world by any means. Hopefully it'll be the beginning of a better world, although it certainly doesn't look like it right now.
No, it's a little tight right now, and
yeah.
we'll be talking about that later. I'll have Dr. Jake Wade on, Dean of Timothy Bible College, to talk about this. The Mayans, what they're talking about is, according to one person that studied this, is exactly what you said: the end of an age, the end of time, as the Mayans put it. Now there is a celestial conjunction coming up. And that, as you said, happens every 5,000 years. You know, we're also zooming through space towards a black rift and a dust cloud in space that may provide fuel for our sun. So we could actually have, solar system warming here.
That's what the scientists are saying, that actually the whole solar system is warming up, not just this planet. Although certainly, we should be taking steps to cut our carbon footprint, so to speak, and not add to the problem.
Well, that kind of brings up an answer now. This whole global warming scam, it was a scam. This is a way, and you talk about the carbon footprint. I mean, basically they want to charge you for your cows farting. It's put meters on your wells, put smart meters in your home so they can tell what you're doing. This is all a part of control.
Yeah, it certainly can be used for that. And, it's interesting because some scientists are saying we're getting colder, others are saying we're getting warmer. Now, the magnetic atmosphere of the Earth seems to be thinning, which is causing the perception of time to speed up. People say, oh, time goes so fast now, and it's when that magnetic atmosphere gets thinner, it's going to change our perception. And the oxygen level is lower now on the planet. So there are things that are changing, but why that's happening, there doesn't seem to be a lot of agreement.
Well, it's really not that important. I mean, the elite want you to be afraid. They want you to be very, very afraid. And this may be, the Bible tells us this is not a battle of people, it's a battle of principalities, and the negative people out there, our enemy, the people that want to kill, the people that want war, the people that want to destroy anything or anyone that's trying to put something together, those are the evil people, and they feed, I think, they feed off of fear and anger, because a lot of people they do everything. The trolls on the internet, they try to put out negativity, because I think they feed off that. It's a spiritual energy, and they don't want you to be positive. They want you to be negative, and they want you to be afraid. And this killing of children that I want to talk to you about today is a part of that. Be afraid, and it's for a pre-planned goal, just like 9/11, just like the Reichstag fire, just like all of these cultural revolutions. The only people that profit off of war are the banksters, because they fund both sides.
Right.
And but I want to get back to you, spiritual medium. You do this for a living. You consult with people, and I really appreciate you doing the show, because you don't charge me for consulting with you on the show. but how did you come up with that term, and what does that mean? Spiritual medium.
To me, it means I'm I'm a mediator between the higher dimensions and the physical dimension because of my own unique relationship with Spirit, with Christ, with divine beings, and so it's kind of being like a battery where the energies that come down can come through me to the physical, that kind of thing. A lot of times it's information, sometimes it's just pure energy. Depends on the situation. And so that's what it means in my case.
Well, I appreciate that, and that's what I feel from you. I mean, you know, it's and Dr. Wade talks about this in our shows, in our interviews, and in our Bible studies. He talks about the Spirit. Now, the Spirit, you know, is God, is Jesus. I call it your conscience, your intuition. That is us being in direct communication with the deity, who doesn't look anything like Charlton Heston. Okay, guys? God does not look like Charlton Heston.
He's not an old man up there with a big beard and a staff. You know, and I want to say that what I'm doing is not because I'm special. Anybody that is willing can develop a direct relationship with God or with Spirit or certainly with Jesus, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. And
that's what Jesus told us to do. He said, "You can do what I do and more," didn't he?
That's right. That's right. And you have to be willing to surrender to God's will. You have to be willing to let go of the ego. You have to be willing to make changes. And that's a big thing, because the ego has gained a lot of strength. The ego comes from fear. The ego is fear-based. The ego lives in the world of duality. You know, the fall of man had to do with the consciousness of man falling into the world of duality, where everything had its opposite. Because Adam and Eve originally were consciously one with God. And he said, "Don't eat from that tree, because I don't want you doing that," because that tree was the tree, metaphorically, of good and evil. He was saying, don't fall out of your alignment with my consciousness. You're going to be sorry if you do that, and you're going to be kicked out of the Garden of Eden, which was that level of oneness with God, the consciousness of God, which of course happened through the development of the ego. Now the ego finds itself in a state where because it is fear-based, all it knows is the desire for power, thinking that if it has enough power, it need not fear anymore. But that doesn't happen. And so the ego is kind of like to fulfill the sensual pleasures. It wants control, it wants power, whatever that means in its world. And it's a never-ending quest. The ego can never get enough of it.
Well, now I have been, let me try to keep this working here. I have been accused of having an ego. I've been accused of a lot of things, especially recently. But I mean, I do want control. I do want some control over my life. I won't allow negative influences to come in and affect my performance, because I believe that what I am doing here is what God wants me to do. You know, I've had preachers say, "Well, how come we never see you in church, Clay?" I said, "Well, does God talk to you and tell you what to do, or what to, what to say to your flock?" And, well, yes, oh yes, yes. Well, me too. Me too. This is
well, you know, being in a human form, we have an ego. And the idea is to not allow the ego to run the show. It's fine to have the ego, and we need it to sort of get along in the physical world, but it shouldn't be running the show. Our God self, our spark of God in us should be running the show. So we have to learn how to have boundaries, have to learn how to put the ego in its proper perspective and work for us. But, you know, the old yogis used to say, it's like riding a wild horse. The ego will take you here and there and here and there, and you have no control. You have to quiet the mind, because the ego lives in the mind, and then gain control over the ego. It's not a good leader. It's a great servant. You know, it serves us very well. And we have to develop those boundaries, Clay, about what is going to come in to prevent us from what our mission is, what we're supposed to be doing. And we have to understand what we're supposed to be doing, and then develop those good boundaries that allow us to continue to do that. We can't just, you know, when I say surrender to the will of God, I'm not saying to be namby-pamby. Jesus was surrendered to the Father's will totally, but he went in and turned over the tables of the temple because it was an unrighteous use of money and power. So he had boundaries, and he knew what those boundaries were. So we're not supposed to just let people walk all over us. That's not the idea. We're supposed to be strong in the spirit and protect that spiritual mission that we've come to do, and our spiritual being, because there are those that would storm the gates of heaven, so to speak, which we mentioned the other day, you and I, by taking our spiritual being, because they do not want to submit to God's will. The arrogance and the false pride, the ego, wants all of that power. They want to take heaven by storm without coming into alignment what God's will is for them. And it never works. It produces a lot of chaos and a lot of unfortunate happenings, but it does not work. You cannot take heaven by storm. You have to submit to the will of God.
And if we listen to that inside voice, but that's there's so many things happening here, and this is part of the distractions, I think. I want to touch on this now. This is all over the news. The Facebook is taking off. Anybody?
You're breaking up really bad, Clayton. Should I turn off my video?
You can try it, see if that helps.
Let me try it. Let's see if that helps. Okay, try it again.
All right. My guest is me, Sa, today, spiritual medium, and we've got a lot of things here that we need to deal with. This shooting in Connecticut is creating a firestorm, but this isn't the first time somebody has murdered children. They murdered children in Oklahoma City. They murdered children in Waco. 17 little children killed to protect them from a child molester. Now, I had a conversation. With, and let me get this. I'm going to restart this. Here. All right. Getting a lot of distractions here.
Yeah.
All right. These children, and I don't know. I was pretty outraged. I started the Free American magazine and the militias around the country because of what happened at Waco.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation last night with a really highly intelligent lady, I hope who's watching the show today. And she has a little bit different view on what is happening than I do. And could be a couple of things here. It could be that I'm just paranoid and seeing things that you know, that may or may not be real. You know, like Oklahoma City, this lady that she, and we haven't met, we just talked the way you and I talk right now, and she saw Waco as something that the government had to do because these people in Waco were pedophiles, etc., etc., etc. And she bought into the newspaper story.
Yeah.
Now, this latest shooting, we got a kid here, an autistic child who happens to be Jewish. His mother was Jewish. His mother is now being painted as a prepper. Why?
Yeah.
The same way Timothy, and for the same reasons that Timothy McVeigh was purported to be militia. And this lady has bought into the whole idea that, well, we do need gun control. Look what this kid did. This kid was insane. He went in and killed these children. You know, so she has bought into basically the programming. They are programming you using the television or media, and to accomplish one thing. They want Americans disarmed. The reason the Japanese didn't invade us in World War II is that everyone had a gun. They said yeah, there'd be a gun behind every blade of grass. We can't invade America. And why is Communist China urging us to pass gun control here in America? Why are our Jewish senators pushing gun control? Feinstein, those are people. Schumer.
You know, cars kill more people per year than guns do.
Yes.
But they're not trying to get our cars. You know, so when the guns get taken away, then we're at the mercy of whoever is in the government, and that makes me really nervous. And
more people,
you know, if you look at,
more people have been killed this century than any time before in history by their own governments or by war, which is war does nothing but profit the banksters. We pay them to build our bombs, and we drop the bombs, and then we pay them to go back in and rebuild.
Yes, that's right.
It's a racket. But
that's right.
What's happening with these children now? There's a woman that I talked with, who, by the way, I got along with better than any of the so-called patriots out there, patriot women, conservative women. I mean, it's but she saw this kid as being, you know, crazy, and she bought into the media is trying to say that his mother, who happened to be Jewish, was somehow doing something wrong, was a prepper. So they're trying to demonize the gun owners and the preppers, or the people that are trying to prepare for whatever, you know. It's
right.
But she may think I'm being paranoid by saying this. Now, let me share a couple of these things.
Okay.
Now, this was just taken off of Facebook, and I've got up on Facebook, I've got the Connecticut police officer telling us that if you say anything on the social media, Facebook included, that is not approved by the police or the FBI or the authorities, then you could be charged, and you could go to jail, and you could go to trial for putting out misinformation. And his definition of misinformation is anything that didn't come from the police department. Now here's what they want you to believe, folks, and this was taken off of Facebook. And I think I will put this up on my site just so you can see it. It's a picture of Adam Lanza, a Jewish kid that was autistic, and somehow he managed to get some of his mother's guns, and let me see how this. Let me put it just the way they say here. A clumsy 20-year-old autistic kid dressed in camo and full body armor, who never shot a gun before, drives to another state, gets into a locked school looking like Rambo, kills 26 people with dead-on accuracy at a school his mother, a retired teacher no one ever heard of before, used to work in years before, after allegedly killing her with the gun that belonged to her in the first place. Then he takes his own life, and that's the news, and people blindly believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
people still tend to believe what comes through the media. You know, years and years ago, I had a friend that lived in Mexico part of the time, and she would tell me, you guys do not realize how much your media is controlled and how much you're not getting. She said even in Mexico, the news is very, very, very different. It's not nearly as controlled. And this was in the 80s. No, I'm sorry, it was in the 90s that she told me that.
Now, here is some of the stuff that the Connecticut Police Department don't want you to hear. This is a list that somebody put together.
Okay.
1, as yet we have not seen any concrete evidence that any child died. 2, as yet parents have not been allowed to see their children. Photos, shopped pictures do not count. As of now, I've only seen one unambiguous statement from a grieving parent, and that was Robbie Parker, who was reading from a cue card and smiling while he was talking about his daughter's death. According to the official story, Adam Lanza was found with his older brother's ID, and it was not stolen. However, older brother Ryan, who officials say is very cooperative, claims not to have seen his brother since 2010. So where would Adam get this ID, and why does such use not qualify as theft? According to the official story, Adam Lanza was wearing a black outfit with a mask and a bulletproof vest. Why would he want to hide his identity? Why would he wear a bulletproof vest if he planned to kill himself? The medical examiner asserts that all wounds were caused by a rifle or other long weapon, and police FBI say the school was littered with .223 rifle casings. Why? But Adam Lanza was found dead in the school with only handguns. A rifle was found in the trunk of his car, but then he could not possibly have been firing the rifle and could not have committed the murders. So who did? According to the official story, the killing was tightly confined to 2 classrooms, but then why were so many children told to close their eyes while leaving the building? Joanne Donato, the principal secretary, called in sick on Friday, something she rarely does, so presumably she must have been awfully ill, yet she felt well enough to give an interview of all days, she said, emphasizing the strange coincidence. Now, Joe, and possibly, let's see,